Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. In case you are new, the whole point of this meeting, this call, is to deliver the maximum amount of value, and the best way to do that is to turn on your camera, engage with us, not only with me, but with the rest of the participants in the group, because at the end of the day, the answer to your question is typically in the room. So just taking the time to ask your question. If I don't have the answer, surely someone else in our call does have the answer. So thank you guys so much for turning on your cameras. Appreciate it. We got Valerie here, driving as usual. Drive safely, please, please, please. And Valeria Sullivan, nice to see you. Okay, let's see here. Let's start off with some wins. Mr. Jeff already is unmuted. Mr. Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Give me a win from this last week that you don't mind sharing with the group.
I guess it would be kind of the same as my win from last time, because we're rolling out these two brand new websites that have, the print on demand aspect integrated into it with all the plugins. And so it's nice that it's sort of smoothly rolling out, because it's, you undertake a new project. It's sort of stressful when you try to combobulate everything in your brain, but as you sort of chop the lumber, it starts making more sense. So yeah, it's looking good.
Good, progressing smoothly. That's a great win. Thank you for sharing that. And let's hear, okay, so Asia is new with us, so I'm going to pick on you a little bit. So what we like to do here is to call on attendees. Sometimes if I have a win, I'll share myself as well, which I do have a win to share this week, but I want to hear from you first to help, uplift everybody and show, it's more than just getting stuck with, talking about problems. There's successes going on, and highlighting that helps everybody to move upwards and onwards. So Asia, if you don't mind sharing a win, it doesn't have to be professional or financial. It can be a personal one. This week mine is personal. So whatever you don't mind sharing with the group.
Okay. So I guess for a win, I started my business 2 years ago. So this actually is my second year in, and it's been doing fairly well. I actually started it just because my husband really likes decal stickers for his sports car. Okay. So that's what I started for, but it just became more, and I got into a lot of different things, and it's been growing very quickly, and I didn't expect it. So it's actually become a pretty good passion.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so business growth. That's great to hear. Excellent to hear. We got Ron joining us today. Let's hear from Valeria with a happy baby in her lap. Share with us a win from this last week.
Hello. My little win this week is usually my wins for me are like big orders, and it looks like I'm getting an order of 800 shirts, which is a lot for me, myself, and I, since it's just me that kind of runs this. My husband will pre-treat occasionally. That's my win, is just hopefully securing it, like finalizing the details of the color tee, and then getting this really big order. Excellent.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of work. So maybe we won't see you next week as you work on it, but that's excellent. That's a good way to move up. Yes. Happy to hear that. Congratulations. Woo! Okay, so I'll go ahead and share one. I don't share wins a whole lot, so I feel like I owe you one for all the times that I don't give you guys a win from myself. So my win is that this last weekend, my son and I, we did our very first karate tournament. Him and I started back in June of last year. We competed in this first tournament that they've had since COVID shut down everything. And my son, he's 4 years old. He's a yellow belt. He competed, did all his forms, completed his forms in front of the judge and in front of an audience for the first time. Didn't cry. Got stuck a little bit, but made through it. And, he did it like a champ. And for myself, I took first place in my forms and second place in sparring for my division. Woo!
Don't mess with Bryan.
That's right. That's right. It helps when you're maybe like 8 inches taller than your competitors, so I can just kind of reach out and touch them on the head. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into it. So today's topic is a couple of different things combined. So we've talked about recently leveraging AI, specifically things like ChatGPT and DALL-E and those other kinds of AI services for your business. So today we're going to be looking a little more specifically at the graphics side of things and using it to kind of jump on the bandwagon of a recent trend, which is faux embroidery. So I'm sure you guys, being in the business on the front lines a lot more than I am, you guys have certainly heard of faux embroidery, where you have a design that looks like it's embroidered, but it's actually a digital print. So that's becoming very popular nowadays. And so we're going to be showing you the process of using AI to make graphics for that, to serve that need. So what I want to do is take some suggestions. So beforehand, just to let you guys know, beforehand we did go ahead and scrape a program called DALL-E for some graphics. We took it into Photoshop, knocked out the backgrounds. But the graphics we left as is. We didn't modify anything. But to show you guys the process, I want to take some suggestions of what kinds of graphics you'd like to see, and then I'll step away and we'll go over to the computer and show you from there. Any suggestions? What kind of graphic I need? Person, place, or thing? We're going to do like a fill in the blank kind of thing.
Are you going to do it for the embroidery style? Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah, it's for the embroidery style. So we'll do faux embroidery and then whatever the search term.
You probably want to do something with a lot of strokes on the outside so you can get different embroidery patterns as you get out from the center of the image. So the easy thing that comes to mind is like jersey numbers, right?
Okay. So that's actually a really good thing to talk about that AI currently struggles with very much is any kind of text, words, numbers. It ends up kind of giving you back borderline nonsense. Like if you took too much cough medicine and you're trying to type out a really long paragraph and it just ends up being a mess. So it's like almost giving you back the right thing. It doesn't quite get it yet. So things with text we want to avoid. I see Michael and Yvonne put into the chat here examples like a Jeep or hockey. So hockey might be a good one. So what I want to do, and maybe a Jeep too, maybe some sort of vehicle. Mauricio, can we step around to your computer and go ahead and pull up DALL-E? The point of showing you guys this today is to demonstrate kind of the strategy for generating this sort of art. So the way that you do the search terms will determine what kind of graphic it generates. So it's giving you some examples here as it's loading. An oil painting by Matisse of a humanoid robot playing chess. So in this case, we're going for the faux embroidery style, and we're just asking for a Jeep. We could get more descriptive depending on what it gives us. Give it a little bit more time. Does anybody have any questions yet so far? I know we haven't done a whole lot yet, but this part is almost the most important part when you're looking at the AI generating, is just nailing the description of what you want, so it'll give you what you're looking for. Okay, yeah, so take a look. We've got a couple of options here, you know. This one's all right. kind of like this one the most. You know, you got the door off, got the seats in there. And then you would just go in and take out the background. It seems pretty clean edge, so that shouldn't give us too much trouble. And then if you like the way it did one, you can ask it for variations and it'll generate you more based on this image. So that's the idea. You would find one and pick one that you like. I'm gonna come back over into the studio here. So you would find and pick one that you like, and oh, actually, before we continue, to answer Maria's question, that's a super important one. Do you have to purchase these AI programs? In this case, this program is free. So if we can, I think we can do them the favor of dropping the link in the chat for, this one's from OpenAI. They're the same guys that do the ChatGPT chatbot AI. So super powerful program. You saw in maybe like a minute, it went ahead and created that graphic that we were using. So you find one you like, take it into your photo editor software, knock out the background, and then I will have you over here and I will show you the ones that we'll be using today. Okay, so while the Zoom opens up and so I can screen share the computer to you guys, I want to know any thoughts on other applications that you can use this sort of thing for. For me, another thing that we were playing with the possibility of is using it to kind of alter photos. So you can upload a photo and it has like a little eraser tool, and you can have it give you like edits and corrections of that particular photo. So it gives you a lot of power. Okay, let's see. So in here we have a couple of different graphics. For the trees, the search term was Faux Embroidery bonsai tree, leafy green bonsai tree was this one, and I think this one was just a regular tree that we asked for. This one I searched for Faux Embroidery colorful happy dragon, and then massive dragon breathing fire on a town. And so I see the primary value out of doing the faux embroidery over traditional embroidery as you get that embroidery effect without that like style, without the limitation of the amount of colors that you can use. You can get quite complex with it and it'll still give you a nice looking result. So if we look here, this one kind of looks more like maybe a color pencil drawing now that I look at it more closely. This one, however, I think is my favorite. And this one looks like it's made out of like fluff. It's super cute. So that's the one that I think we'll start with. So what you would do, you would set it up like normal. You're gonna go ahead, choose your DTF environment, HQ, you do your size, your position, make sure you mirror it if you did add any text. You do your port and your margins. Make sure you do your print preview, and you're all set, ready to go. So for now, I'm going to stop the screen share, and we're gonna load up a DTF sheet. So for today's purposes, I wanted to make sure we're just going to use all the basics. You don't need to get super fancy when you're just starting out with DTF if you're using the FreeJet. If you're using the DTF printer, there's nothing special you need to do. You just go ahead and follow your normal steps. But for today, we're using our FreeJet, and we're using hot peel DTF sheets. So we're just adding it to the adult platen with a little bit of alcohol on here to hold down the sheet. Nice and easy there. If you end up doing a lot of DTF, I do highly recommend the heated vacuum platen, but my preference is to always start out with just the basics of what you need and get more advanced as you move on. The benefit to the heated vacuum platen, you don't have to do the alcohol to secure the sheet, or you don't have to do like double-sided tape or anything. It will have a vacuum which sucks the sheet flat, and it heats up, so you can add a little bit more ink without it bleeding, and it overall gives you a kind of smoother result as it prints. Because as it prints the color does start to dry, so you can use more ink without that risk of bleeding in the color layer as well, not just with the white. So we're all set here. We're going to go ahead and adjust the height. And as always, this is the same printer we always use, and I want to draw special attention to that because I only use this machine. This machine only gets used for Creators Live. So this hasn't printed anything since the last time you saw me print something with it. It was wet capped like normal maintenance. As long as you're doing your maintenance correctly, as long as you're wet capping it properly, it can survive that amount of time without being used, without even being plugged in. This thing hasn't been plugged in a couple of weeks now. We've been using the studio for other things. So just to show you, when I came back, I swirled my white bottles pretty vigorously, ran the circulation for about a minute, did a prime of my lines because my white was quite separated, almost looked completely transparent with a little dusty white residue at the bottom, which is the pigment. So purged all that out. As I've been jostling it around, it used about this much waste to get it up and running, and that's including the cleaner that was in the wet cap system. So really not that much for how long it was sitting. And did a test print before we started, which looked beautiful. We actually did 2 test prints, worked beautifully. So I just want to draw special attention to that because I do see, quite a few folks have frequent nozzle check problems or have difficulty getting the colors how they want it due to ink flow. And when you're doing your maintenance items properly, you're really not going to be running into any issues. I think this machine is maybe taken care of suboptimally even. It's not used as much as maybe preferred, but we use it enough that obviously it's working. So let's go ahead and print one. We're doing, well, what do you guys think? The dragon going on the city, or did you like the happy dragon, or one of them trees? I'm gonna go for the big dragon that was breathing fire on the city. No, I'm gonna go for the happy. I really like the happy dragon. That's my favorite one. So it's gonna go ahead and get started. When you're doing direct to film on the FreeJet, it does, since it's a single head unit, it does need to print a layer of color, and then it'll come back and it'll do the white. With things like this, when you're working with high resolution graphics or a particularly weak computer, one thing that will help you is to pre-rip your prints. So my experienced folks in here will know what that means, but those of you who are new, while this prints, we're going to go back to the computer and I'm going to show you something that I do. So when I'm screen sharing, it's not going to make my printer stop. So you guys can see the screen? Okay, so when you do your print setup and you have the image ready, you come down here and you add the print, add the active document. So that'll add your job into the queue down here. And from there, then you would right click and select rip, and that will basically pre-process your job. So the information can just get sent straight to the printer without any buffer. And this is good for when you have a weak or overloaded computer. The symptom that tells you need to do this is when the print will start and then stop and then start and stop, and there's no special messages going on the computer, that's how you know that you should try pre-ripping your image, because by default, our software will rip on the fly. So it'll print and rip the job at the same time. So if you're having that kind of stuttering stop and start print problem, that's the way to tackle that. If you were doing this on the i2, for example, it would be finished already. It would have done the white and the color and be done. And that's due to, obviously it has a more modern print engine, but also it's packed with 2 print heads. So there's going to be a white and a color head. And that'll allow it to go ahead and do the white and the color back to back rather than doing a separate layer. I'm going to call on Mr. Ron Etheridge real quick here. Ron, you have been uncharacteristically quiet. I am sure you have some sort of comment or question that you're holding back for the end. You want to lay it on me?
No. Yeah. As far as the using AI, I've started messing around with it, and I see a great benefit into it. I think it can it can help people that really don't have design experience. So it is definitely a good product. It can definitely shorten things up, but you just got to be specific as to what you're really looking for. So I think it's a nice addition to our package in terms of what's out there now.
Yeah, I agree with you that really when it comes to the AI stuff, the main thing is the search terms, what your definition terms when you're having it generate the graphic. Be as specific as possible. If you're looking for like a tiny robot with a big yellow balloon in the style of Monet, that would be kind of weird. I might have to try that after this, but it'll do that. You can do all kinds of fantastical designs, and it'll turn around and produce it, such as a colorful happy dragon in the style of embroidery. Let's get a little closer here. You can see it kind of has that ridge effect around the edges of the embroidered space. And so what we'll do now, I'm going to hand this off to Joel, who will be my assistant for today. He's going to go and powder the print. He's going to throw it into the heat press to cure the ink. He'll press it onto a shirt and then he'll bring it back. So while he does that, we're going to go ahead and load up another one. And this time I'm going to do that dragon that's attacking the city. I think that one is pretty cool too. And for those of you who are new to the DTF space, when you're working with the FreeJet, the reason that I'm using alcohol, so like rubbing alcohol, is once you take it off of the platen here, that alcohol will evaporate. You would get the same result using water, but the water won't evaporate when you're done. So when you go to powder it, that water will pick up the powder, and you're going to have this crusty backside to your DTF sheet. So let's go ahead and run another one. 1 second here. So this one doesn't give off too much of an embroidery feel. This one gives me more of, like I said, like more of a color pencil approach to it. John says Dragon does not look like embroidery to him. He has a 15 needle embroidery machine. So again, it's AI. It is limited by the source material. So I have another one that we had printed earlier to test. And in the studio here, I can see all of the fuzziness. It sort of looks like it's using cording for most of it. That's how I would describe it, is it's like I could see this being used on maybe something like a Letterman jacket or something. You know how it has that thick yarn cording? That's the sort of look that it's giving me here. The other one that we're doing, really you can ask for any art style that you can think of, and it's going to create you something. So it's limited by your imagination at this point and reference sources. So one of the recent controversies when it comes to AI art is that it's trained on other people's intellectual properties. So there's been debate regarding if the art that the AI then generates would be intellectual property of the source material it trained on. I think it's fair game. It's not a duplication. It's not even a close replica. It's mimicking an art style. It's what's the term I'm looking for, Mauricio? I don't think I'm trying to say derivative, but that's the term that's coming to mind. It's an approximation of the style, but still uniquely different, is really what the bottom line is. So ChatGPT 4 is coming out next week, which is rumored to be able to do text to video. So it can take a text prompt and generate some manner of video out of it. So this is only going to compound in its complexity, and there's going to be so much more that can be accomplished using these platforms and these programs. So the point that I'm trying to get across is try to stay at the forefront of this technology so you can get the maximum leverage out of it and, you know, benefit your business as much as you can. DTF ended up being a pretty revolutionary stepping stone in the industry. It removed the need for pre-treat for digital printing. It gives a very nice wash fastness equivalent to our DTG inks. So these are ending up being really, really valuable for those garments which are traditionally difficult to pre-treat. And you can still get an equally complex image, and the only real difference is going to be how it feels on the shirt. So this one's nearly finished. I hear the heat press in the other room, so I think Joel is nearly finished with that. This will be only his second time doing a DTF transfer, so we'll see if he accomplished it successfully. If not, I have a backup example of one that we did earlier, and then you guys can just act shocked like he did it on his first try. Does anyone have any ideas of what they want to do with this afterwards? Do you guys plan on doing more stuff with AI? Maria, you look a combination of intrigued and checked out, maybe? Like, not in a bad way. I don't know if that came off bad, but it seems like, yeah, it's interesting, but not that interesting. Or how are you feeling about this this whole subject in general?
Well, I mean, you're hearing more and more about it all the time. I think on maybe more of a design level, I would play with that more if I had time. I mean, I think if you could come up, if it could get really tuned into looking more like stitches, if that's what you're going for as an embroidery look, I think that I would like really be interested in that, because I do some embroidery now. So
Mhm.
I'm kind of like, I know what the stitches look like, you know, but
Yeah.
I think maybe as the AI gets more intelligent, and it can really produce that, I can see that, because I've seen other companies that produce those embroidery like patches or whatever,
Yes.
and they're awesome. But I don't know what kind of software they use to do that. But I mean, on the designing end of it, that would be really cool if you're looking for something unique and you're designing for a customer, then I could see where it'd be really helpful. So I'm intrigued. I'm not bored about it though.
Okay, okay, good. I always am self-conscious that, you know, I'm not delivering what you guys want to know or what you guys want to see. Can we switch to camera number 2, Mauricio?
So you didn't have to do any other color adjustments or anything. You just treated it like a regular graphic in the RIP, correct?
Correct. So there wasn't any changes to the art. You treated it like you normally would in the RIP software. The only thing that we did beforehand is knocking out the background. Sometimes when you ask it for art, the software will put it onto a background of some kind, which is either easier or more difficult to crop out depending on what kind of background it gives you. So I'm going to hand this one off to Mr. Joel. How did that other one turn out?
In progress.
In progress. Okay. So, okay. For Joel's first attempt at doing DTF transfers with no supervision, he did a pretty good job. So when he comes back with that other one, we want to give him some props. He has it nice and centered. I forgot to tell him to shake off the excess the excess powder from the sheet. So it is nice and powdery around the edges, but I have the one that I did earlier as a clean example. And so you would throw that up onto t-shirt or tote bag or whatever material, and you would be ready to sell it. That kind of brings us back to the roots of what Creators Life started as, is an avenue for easy communication for assistance. So while we're on the topic of sort of miscellaneous problems, does anyone else have anything that they're struggling with regards to the FreeJet or anything like that that you're trying to get resolved and maybe not having much progress? Right there. John is asking, my wet cap on the white side is not sucking. Okay, this is a super easy thing to diagnose. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that live here for you guys, since we have a little bit of opportunity. And this is good for everyone to know. And here is the other one that Joel just transferred. There we go. Nice. Boom. Okay, John is not available to unmute himself. So I'm going to move this a little bit so that the close-up cam can see right here. Maria has a question. Where? I don't see it. Oh, Maria had her hand up.
Hey, Brian.
Howdy.
Well, hi. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going kind of back to the AI stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
I opened up that website that you were using, and I kind of narrowed the search down, and it was actually a little bit better. I just asked it to give me an embroidery patch with a Jeep for a logo, and it did a better job of making the graphic look like threads.
Okay, so just taking out the faux part and just telling it to make embroidery.
Yes, now one of it, they don't know how to spell Jeep, but
Yeah,
if
So
the graphic
AI
was
always
better.
struggles with the text.
Yes. But the graphic was better.
Awesome. Thank you for updating us. I'm happy that you're playing with it already. Are we able to get any more vertical on this, or should I spin the printer around? Because we want to see right where my index finger is, and it's kind of blocked by this. So you would do function up, undock the head. You have your capping station here. John, can you confirm that you can fill up both sides of the capping station? You are presumably able to fill it up. So that tells me that there is no clog between the wet cap bottle, like where you put the cleaning solution, and the tube that leads up into that side of the capping station. Okay, so you fill up both sides, and when you hit the spring is when it is not able to, oh wow, we got that thing all the way up there. So when you hit the spring is when it doesn't drain on the white side. The test is to hit power and down and drain it that way. If running the pump also does not drain it, then you may have a clog. Otherwise, the tube might be a little bit dry and it's just having trouble generating that suction. So I want you to try that first, John. Since it can fill up, that's really encouraging. So check that, and especially because it'll drain from the other side, according to what you're saying. I don't suspect much in the way of clogs. I think probably the tube is just dry where it drains from, so it's having difficulty creating some suction for you. So that's what we're looking at there. And when I was talking about properly maintaining the machine, since we have everything like this already, I don't want to squander the cool camera setup that these guys did for me. So I have, oh, there we go. We're on the wide now. Cool. All right. So we have our capping station here. You just want to clean around the edges, both sides and the top edge of the wiper blade. And what I like to do at the end of the day, since I'm not going to be using this for a while, I'm going to clean the edges around my print head there, around the nozzle plate. If you've undergone training, you know what I'm talking about. So you would go ahead and just do a light cleaning down there, a light cleaning of the capping station. Flush it out a couple of times with the cleaner. Make sure everything's nice and clean, and then dock the head. Clip your clips, turn it off. It's really as easy as that. That'll preserve it up to 3 weeks. Sometimes more. I've gotten it to last longer, but that's going to be determined by, more than a number of factors. So I think we went a little more technical than, a little more on the maintenance and technical side of things than I intended, but it's always good to touch on that information again for those who are a little bit newer to the group. So we're going to go ahead and close it out. We do have a trade show. Do we have the link for the show at the end of the month? We're going to be dropping the link for our upcoming trade show, which is going to be in Atlantic City, right? Atlantic City, woo! Is there anyone in the group who's going to be going to our Atlantic City show? We got Mr. Ron coming? Yes, okay. All right, you got to make sure that the guys do some social media posts with you. For your page. Milk the OmniPrint platform for all it's worth.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hey, I'm glad you guys coming to the East Coast. I finally get to attend a show in person out there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Good. We're looking forward to having you. So we're going to be in Atlantic City end of the month. Link is in the chat here. Make sure you follow us on our social media pages, Instagram, Facebook. We're getting into the TikTok, and our YouTube, I think, is the number one. The YouTube is going to have all kinds of in-depth videos for a variety of topics, such as our recent delve into AI. And part 2 is still in progress. So thank you guys so much for joining me this Wednesday. And we will see you next week. Bye, guys. Woo!